Good morning, everybody. I saw Yella doing a countdown in the chat. That's great. We have the last 10 seconds countdown. We're at 0 right now. Good morning, good morning. This is the 20th episode of Web's Webinar Wednesday. My name is Thijs van Rosmalen. If you don't know me from the earlier episodes, I'm account executive at Webs. We're an elite HubSpot partner. And every week we're discussing some great cases, some great insights on HubSpot, on growth, on marketing, on sales, on IT. A lot have passed the last weeks, I have to say. Before we dig in today, some of you are new to this episode, so some easy house rules here. As you notice, you're all on mute, so that means you can use the chat if you have something to share with us. If you have a question, we will make sure to cover all the questions along this webinar. I will be managing the chat, so it's not about me today, but I'll make sure that every question will be addressed to Tarek. And after his presentation, so the last 10 to 15 minutes of this morning, of this webinar, he will answer all the questions. You're on mute. If you feel free, if you feel comfortable enough, share your faces. So put your webcams on that we know who is joining today. We have over 40 people in the room. So great that you will join us talking about unlocking growth in B2B marketing, something which is a very critical topic in times of COVID-19, I think. We have a special guest. I mentioned him already. It's Tarek Reslan. He is an international growth marketing trainer at Growth Tribe. He's training, coaching, building growth teams all over the world. And I had a cup of coffee with him this morning virtually, and he was saying that that he is talking to literally marketers all over the world these days. Everything is on remote for Growth Tribe right now, and that's probably why he has such a very professional microphone. Tarek, welcome. Good morning.
Thanks for the fancy introduction, Thijs.
Look at that sound. That's the microphone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward for the presentation.
Yeah, that's great. You are talking about some latest B2B cases, some tips and tricks for either, literally everything what has to do with growth. So like lead generation, conversion rate optimization, everything in between. So we're very enthusiastic that you will join us. Take it over from here. I will be your help. I will manage the chat, and you can use the screen now and share your great insights. Looking forward to this.
All right. Thank you. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, we're all good to go. I can see your screen.
Nice. So thanks again for the introduction, Thijs. Yes, my name is Tarek. I'm a growth marketing trainer and coach at Growth Tribe. You can see me right here. So if you're not very familiar with Growth Tribe, we are an education company and we focus on two things. One, we want to change the way people think about marketing. And two, we want to bridge what we call the digital skills gap. Because nowadays, technology is growing at a fast pace. So day after day, it's becoming harder and harder to keep up with the new skills. And that's why Growth Tribe was created, to bridge that gap between average skills and what's really out there. So in the next 45 minutes or 40 minutes, I'm going to share with you guys some insights about why the fast growing companies in the world are adopting this new way of working. And also I'm going to share with you some actionable tactics that you can take to your office tomorrow. And if you're working from home, you can do it from home as well. So there are some key trends happening in the market right now. And one of these trends is speed, or lack of speed to be more specific. Because if you look at this slide, guys, you can see that in the last 15 years, almost 52% of companies who were part of the Fortune 500, they no longer exist, they disappeared. And that's because they weren't agile, they weren't dynamic, and they couldn't adapt to this new way of working. But if you look at the other side of the spectrum, you're gonna see these giants who are dominating their markets and niche. You have companies like Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, Google. All of these giants, they only focus on experimenting as much as possible. And they run thousands of experiments per year, thousands, because they know they're gonna get lots of insights from these experiments that's gonna help them optimize future activities. So the main question is, like, these guys who are doing so well, what are they doing differently? First of all, they are data driven. Saying I think this will work is no longer good enough, because when you back up your decision using gut feeling, it's like you're playing Russian roulette. If it works, you were very lucky. If it doesn't work, you know what happens. So these guys, they back up each decision with data to make sure like they're not taking any risks. And speaking of risks, they are also de-risking their projects. So instead of going all in on a big campaign from the get-go and allocating the whole budget for that campaign, they run a small experiment with a small budget. They monitor the experiment, they monitor the KPIs. If they see that it's working, then they can scale up bit by bit and increase the budget bit by bit. There's no need for you guys to go all in on something you're not quite sure of. So run a small experiment, check the data. If it's promising, if it looks good, then you can scale it up. So this is when we talk about de-risking projects, this is what we mean. Also, the way they structure their teams. So they have these cross-functional teams. All of these teams have a high level of autonomy to execute as quickly as possible. Because when we talk about growth marketing, it's all about rapid experimentation. And we emphasize on the word rapid because you want to execute quickly. So if these teams, they have boundaries, they have limitations, they're going to encounter blockers, which will slow them down. So these guys should have all of the freedom they need to execute as quickly as possible. Also, the final piece of the puzzle is that these teams, they consist of T-shaped layer. T-shape is when you know a little about a lot and a lot about a little. Hope that made sense. So take me as an example. My area of expertise, it's include landing page optimization, landing page creation, conversion rate optimization, and so on. But I have some good knowledge. I'm not an expert in design. I know how to use Photoshop, Illustrator. I have some good video editing skills. I have some good front end code skills, but I'm not an expert. Now, learning these skills that were outside of my expertise actually helped me become self-dependent. So let's say I want to create a social media post. I want to edit something on the website. I can do it by myself and I can execute quickly because I don't have to wait for a designer or the developer to do it for me. I can execute quickly because once again, we have to be fast. And like consider this like in the army. I know it's not a very business example, but in the army, you have so many groups. You have the soldier who carry the guns. You have a medic team, and you also have other groups. No idea if you've ever been in the army, but imagine that the medic team was skilled in the battlefield. If the other soldiers have no idea, even basic knowledge of first aid, they're screwed, right? So learning the skills that's outside your area of expertise may come in handy at some point or another. And don't worry, you don't have to learn all of these skills. For me personally, I don't know shit about finance or AR or VR. And that's okay because I don't need the skills to run the experiments I'm currently running. And I always say this joke like, I don't think there's a person on this planet that has all of these skills. We call them unicorns. And unicorns, like my girlfriend, they don't exist. So don't worry. Just learn the skills you think will help you out with your job. You don't have to learn everything. Just see the skills required for the experiment and basically match it accordingly. So if you're asking yourself, how can I transition to this new way of working? How can I start growth marketing and how can I start experimenting? Well, we have an answer for you. We call it the growth hacking transformation pyramid. Now, at the bottom of that pyramid, we have the mindset, which is the first thing we're going to talk about, because having the right mindset, this is the foundation of this whole transformation. It doesn't matter if you're B2C or if you're B2B. As an employee, as an individual, you should have the right mindset to be data driven, to think outside of the box, to be creative, and most importantly, to go outside your comfort zone and start experimenting. Now, when we talk about the mindset, we'd like to introduce you to our hero. He's like the Michael Jordan of growth hacking. It's this guy right here. It's very underrated, which sucks. No, I don't think anybody in this room knows him, maybe one or two. But this is Takaru Kobayashi. And this guy was the world champion of eating hot dogs. It's going to make sense in a bit. So not only he was the world champion, in 2006, he demolished the previous world record. So the previous record was 15 hot dogs in 10 minutes. This guy, he ate 50 hot dogs in 10 minutes. 50. Now, you would think don't wait, it's impossible. I mean, look at the guy. Look how small he is. And look at the guy on his right. Like, he looks like he can eat Kobayashi himself. Not only he can beat him in the competition. So, like, how the hell did he manage to beat his competitors? Well, he growth hacked the competition. He found a loophole. So this is what he did. Step number one, he separated the bun from the sausage. So he was eating the sausage separately, one at a time, two at a time, three at a time, and so on. And then he took the bun and he dipped it in the water so it became softer, so it was easier to swallow and digest. Disgusting. I'm sorry if you're having breakfast while watching this presentation at the moment. It's disgusting, but it worked, right? Because he thought outside of the box. And every time I shared his story with my friend, one time I shared it with 5 of my friends, 3 of them were really impressed by Kobayashi, how innovative he was, how creative he was. The other 2, they don't eat hot dogs anymore, but it doesn't matter because when we talk about the mindset, this is the perfect example. You have to think outside the box. And we have a saying at Growth Tribe, if you're growing a company today, you better learn how to eat hot dogs fast. Now, fun fact, I think 3 months ago or 2 months ago, one guy broke his record. He broke the record of Kobayashi. He ate 75 hot dogs in 10 minutes, not 50, because he used the same method. And you would relate to this as a business because let's say you were experimenting and you found something that worked for you. Don't be surprised if the other companies started doing the same thing. So you have to keep innovating. You have to keep experimenting. You don't stop after you first win. You have to keep innovating. So not only you have to learn how to eat hot dogs fast, you have to find new ways to eat it fast. And this guy, Jeff Bezos, he says that our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, per day. Being wrong might hurt you a bit because it's okay to fail. Not all of your experiments are going to be successful, and that's okay because you're going to learn from them. You're going to get insights, data on what they worked and what didn't work. But being slow will kill you because if you're being slow, your competitors may not be as slow and they're going to run you out of business. Now, from the mindset, we go to the teams. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, these teams, they consist of T-shaped player. They are data driven. They have the right mindset. So I'm going to show you guys now how a generic team looks like. So this is a generic growth team. Obviously, it varies depending on the company. So obviously, it's not like the only answer, the only way to do it. So this is just a generic one. So first, you have a growth project manager. You have a developer, you have a designer, and you have an analyst. Now, if you're building a growth team, this person right here, the project manager, is your most important hire. Obviously, this person should be data driven, the mindset, all of that. But most importantly, she should have very strong soft skills because his main responsibility is to actually share the learnings and the work of his team with the rest of the organization. Because when you talk about B2B, guys, you have lots of departments and not everybody is willing to adapt this new way of working. There's lots of skeptical people so they're gonna block you. So one way to get them on board is to share the learnings of your experiments, to share the data. So this guy or this girl, her main responsibility is to share the learnings of the team. So that could be your most important hire, and make sure they have very strong soft skills. Then we have a developer. This person should be very flexible because when we talk about experimentation, you're gonna do lots of iterations. So this guy should be okay with that because I don't know if you work with developers, they are very proud of their code. So if you tell them to change the code, they're gonna be a bit skeptical because they're so proud of it. So these guys should be very, very flexible. Then you have a designer and we have an analyst. So the analyst will look at the data. He's going to look at the hard data. He's going to crunch it. He's going to analyze it, and he's going to visualize it so the other people in the team or in the company can see it. So he's going to tell you what's happening and how to fix it. Now, so this is a generic growth team. For B2B, this team changed a bit. It becomes something like this. So you also have a project manager, you have a developer, but this time we have a content specialist in the team. Because when we talk about B2B, people, they're not going to buy from you after the first touch point. You have to nurture these leads with more content, relevant content, personalized content. And that's why we have a content specialist. Now, the most important individual in that team is the salespeople. You should have a salesperson is your team. Because in B2B, most of the time, some of your activities, they happen offline. So you need a salesperson to give you the soft data, the hard data, the soft data, the qualitative feedback, because this person is going to be in direct touch with your customers. He's going to see what's happening. He's going to be part of the offline demo. He's going to see what people are enjoying, what convinced them to sign up, what stopped them from signing up. So he's going to get you lots of qualitative feedback that's going to help you optimize your online activities. So even if some of the processes, they happen offline, have these guys on the team. They're going to tell you what's happening. They're going to call your customers. They're going to tell you what they enjoyed. And based on their feedback, you can optimize your online activities. So having a salesperson is crucial. And if that's not possible, then make sure that alignments between the marketing team and the sales team is really good. Because obviously, maybe you don't need a salesperson in the team, then make sure the alignment between the two teams or the two departments is on point. And by the way, guys, if you have any questions throughout the deck, like please type it at the end. I'm going to have a Q&A. Now I'm sharing my screen. I don't think I can see the chat, but yeah, if you have any questions, don't worry. At the end, I'll answer everything. All right. Now from the teams, we go to the tactics. So what are the best practices? So when you want to start experimenting, guys, you have to build your persona. So because every experiment you're going to run is going to be based on that persona's behavior and so on. Now, I know people say, yeah, B2C, you target people, B2B, you target companies. Yes, but in B2C, not only target people, but you target people who are responsible for their own buying decision. They can make that decision themselves unless they're married or it's a group purchase. But usually for B2C, people that they can make their own buying decision. For B2B, you target companies, yes, but you still communicate with people. But the main difference is that these people, they cannot make that decision themselves. You have lots of stakeholders involved in the buying decision. So as a B2B company, if you want to target a company, make sure to actually find these stakeholders. Once again, this varies depending on the company you're targeting, but usually you have the end users, the people who's gonna actually use the product. You have the influencers, people who's gonna recommend your product, people who's gonna evaluate it, and then we have the ultimate decision maker, which is usually the CEO. So you don't create one content for all of them. You should create specific content for each persona because it's gonna be more relevant to them. Imagine I have a software for developers, it's for the IT department. Let's say I want to target the IT director. I'm going to be very technical with him. I'm going to tell him exactly how the software works and how it's going to help his team. But let's say we have a finance guy in the stakeholder or in management. He doesn't give a shit about technicalities. All he thinks about is how expensive this solution is going to be. The CEO, the same thing. He doesn't give a shit about technicalities. He only wants to know how this product can improve performance and help grow his company. So make sure to map out the stakeholders, see which people are responsible for this decision, and then adapt and optimize your content accordingly. Now you may tell me, okay, how can we identify the stakeholders? It really depends on the company and on the channel you're using. So let's say you're using LinkedIn ads, it's going to be easy for you because you can target by job title. If you're using Google ads, you can actually tailor the content based on query. So if people are searching on how to fix a problem, you can be technical with them. If people are searching, okay, which is the cheapest way to fix this, okay, they care more about the price of the technical stuff. So based on the search query, you can optimize the page accordingly. And once again, the salespeople will help you formulate your persona because they're going to be in direct contact with your previous customers. They're going to tell you in which industry they were, who was responsible to make the decision in the demos. So once again, salespeople in the B2B, they're going to help you identify these stakeholders. And once you create the persona, but before that, I'm going to show you the power of personalization. I told you you should create tailored content for each persona. So here we have Unibank, and they have two personas. They have extroverts and they have introverts. Look at the landing page for extroverts. They have a group of friends hanging out. Now here they have a home insurance. So they say, you host the parties, we'll insure you. So it's more for extroverts. And look at the page for introverts. You have one girl sitting by herself, live at your own pace, be independent, be reliable. So it's tailored to her personality type. So you do the same thing for the stakeholders. For the IT guy, you share how exactly your solution works. For the CEO, the landing page has case studies, use cases, testimonials on how it improved performance for other companies. So you tailor the copy, you tailor the landing page for that stakeholder. Now, once you identify these stakeholders, you map out their customer journey using the pirate funnel. Now, it's called the pirate funnel because of the acronyms, AAARRR. If you pronounce it, you're going to sound like a pirate. R, not my joke, I swear. My jokes are funnier, I hope. So you can blame Dave McClure for this bad joke. So Dave McClure, he's the founder of a company called 500 Startups. He came up with this concept. So basically, he attributed the growth of any companies to these stages, from awareness down to revenue. In his opinion, if you track these stages, you would be able to fully understand your customer journey, and you can actually optimize it to make sure that your leads, they become your customers at the end of it. Now at Growth Tribe, we agree with him. That's why we like to use this concept. So to explain it briefly to you guys, first we have awareness. So awareness is when people, they land on your website. So it's the destination. The source may be different. They may come from an ad, an email marketing campaign, a referral, but the destination is the same, which is when they land on your website. Then we have acquisition. So people, when they land on your website, they're going to take a meaningful action to learn more, to get more details, information about what you sell. Now, this action could be anything depending on your business. It could be watching a video on the homepage. It could be downloading a white paper, booking a demo. It could be anything depending on the business, but it's an action they take to get details, information about what you sell. Then we have activation. This is when they experience what we call the wow moment. So it's an action they take. It's going to show them the value of your product. It's going to influence them to buy the product. Now, people confuse these two. They don't know how to differentiate acquisition and activation. So acquisition is usually the step right before activation. So let's say you have the Udemy, for example, or all of the platforms that sell online courses. Usually they give you the first hour for free. They give you a preview of the course. Because once you watch the free preview, you're going to see the value of the course. So you're going to end up buying it. So activation in that case is when you watch the free preview. What's acquisition? What do you have to do in order to watch the free preview? You have to go to the course page, learn more about the curriculum, the teacher, and so on. Also, ebooks. They give you the first 10 chapters for free or 15 chapters for free because they know when you read the free chapters, you're going to see the value of the book. So you're going to end up buying it. So activation is when you read the free chapters. Acquisition, what do you have to do before it? Well, you have to go to the book page, learn more about the author, the description, the testimonials, and so on. So that's the difference between the two. Then we have retention, which is to make sure that these users, they keep coming back and use your product more. And once again, guys, well, not once again, but most importantly, activation and retention are strongly linked. Because once you activate users, it means they trust you. It means they value your product. So there's a high chance they're going to keep coming back and use your product more. So these two are strongly linked. And also we have referrals. So referrals is to encourage your customers to refer you to their friends, partners, and so on. And once again, it's strongly linked to activation because once you deliver value to a customer, you can bet they're going to refer you to their friends and family. At Growth Tribe, almost 40% of our participants, they come from referrals because, not to brag about it, but we activate our participant in the course. They see the value of the course. So they end up referring us to their colleagues. So that's why activation is really, really important. And this is one of the big differences between traditional marketing and growth marketing. Traditional marketeers, they only focus on the first two stages, awareness and acquisition. They only focus on getting the traffic to the website. And once done, they're like, okay, they stop. Now, growth marketers, they focus on the full length of the funnel, from awareness down to revenue. Like, consider this like a bucket of water. If it's leaking at the bottom and you're only looking at the top and you're still putting water, you would never know why it's leaking and can never fix it. And the same applies here in marketing, because if you only focus on awareness, you would never know that people are not being activated. You would never know that people are not being retained. And that's why growth marketers, they track the full length of the funnel to optimize and identify these leaks. So now, guys, I'm going to share with you an example for each stage. So first, we have awareness. So if you want to promote your product from the get-go using ads, make sure it's personalized. I talked about personas. I talked about personalized messaging. Make sure you identify the need of your persona, of the stakeholder, and adjust your content accordingly. So let's say Johan, he wants to save money. You make sure in your copy, in your video, in your visual, you mention how you're going to help him save money. If you're targeting Sophie, she's all about sustainability, make sure to mention that. Don't use one ad for all of your personas. Don't use generic ads, generic copy. Make sure it's personalized. So this method, you target you promote your main product from the get-go, but can also use a different method. We call it engineered marketing. So engineered marketing, even though it sounds fancy, it's one of my favorite awareness channels. So instead of actually promoting your product from the get-go, you promote something else to add value to your persona or to your audience. Usually they are freebies. It could be a webinar, it could be a report, it could be anything, but it's something free that gives value to them. And then later on, you promote your product. So to make this make sense, I have this example for you guys, which is Unbounce. So Unbounce, if you're not very familiar with it, it's a tool that helps to create landing pages from scratch without writing a line of code. So it's a landing page builder. And they have this engineered marketing tool. It's called Analyze My Page. So this tool, they ask you to put your domain, your URL. And once you do this, it's going to actually analyze your website. It's going to tell you how strong it is. Is it fast? Is it secure? Is it SEO friendly, mobile responsive, conversion sampling, all of that. And they're gonna share these insights with you guys with a report that they shared to your email. Now, by the end of the report, they tell you, okay, this is your performance of your website. You can use our landing page builder to improve it. So they didn't promote the landing page builder from the get-go. They used the tool to provide value to their customers. And by the end of it, they found a way to link it to their main product. We call this engineering marketing. Also, like at Growth Tribe, our webinars, usually a webinar is an engineering marketing tool because we're telling you, we're offering you value, we're giving you content. By the end of the webinar, we tell our attendees like, hey, these are our courses that can help you out. So once again, we're not promoting our course from the get-go. We're giving value first, and then we found a way to link it to the course. So this is Unbounce. You also have HubSpot. They have all of these cool tools. Like they have this tool for personas. It's going to help you visualize it. It's also a free tool that's going to help you visualize the persona, add an image, and so on. And then later on, they find a way to link it to their CRM. So that's engineering marketing. Now, if you don't know where to start or like what kind of content to write to nurture these leads, I have some tools for you guys. So you can use Google Trends. So you can actually see what's trending in your industry. And then once you know what's trending, you can use another tool called Answer the Public. So it's called Answer the Public. So you put that topic on Answer the Public, and this tool is going to tell you what kind of questions are being asked about this. So this way, you know exactly what your persona are searching for, are looking for. So you can create content to basically answer their question. It's going to be relevant to them. So you can create content to basically nurture these leads. Now, if you don't have any time to create content yourself, well, we have another tool for you. It's called Sniply. So this way, let's say you went to growthtribe.com and you found an article you enjoyed and you think your persona will enjoy. You can share that article using Sniply. So it's sniply.growthtribe.com. Now, your users, they're going to see the same page with a Growth Tribe link, but you can actually add a pop-up with a call to action to redirect people to your main website. So even if you cannot create content yourself, go out there, see what kind of content are relevant to your business. It could be on Medium, it can be on any website, and share that article using Sniply and customize your own pop-up on that article to get leads and to wire traffic to your website. It's completely legal, obviously, because the people who wrote the article, they're gonna get the traffic, they're gonna see everything, but you're sharing it with your own specific Bitly link and Sniply link, so you can customize the pop-up and you can get traffic from that. So if you don't have time to build content, this could be a very good alternative. Now, from awareness, we go to acquisition. So in acquisition, guys, this is, like I said, people, they should understand what you're selling, which means they should pass what we call the 5-second test. So a while back, Microsoft, they did a cool study about the behavior of different website visitors. So basically, they discovered that people, they only spend 5 seconds, not more, 5 seconds to decide if they're going to stay on a page and consume more content or abandon the page altogether. Which means in 5 seconds, your user should know what you sell and what makes it special. So to show you how this thing works, guys, I'm going to share with you a landing page for 5 seconds. And let's see if you can guess what this website offers, okay? 3, 2, 1. All right. What does this website offer? You can type it in the chat. Software, no idea. Any other suggestions? Planning tool, clueless, something legal, secure legal. Okay, Yale actually got it. All right, let me close this. All right. So obviously this is a company in the US. It's called Leap, and they have a legal practice management software for law firms. So there's very niche. So let's say you're a lawyer, they have this software for you where you can automate your processes, you can manage your cases in one place. So it's very niche for lawyers and for law firms. Unfortunately, the landing page is really, really distracting. Like you have lots of things going on. You have a big text, you have image, you have lots of links. So I used the tool to do a user test. It's called Usability Hub. And I did a 5-second test. And basically 10% of people understood what this website was selling. And I had very funny answers like exam preparation, Word, Excel, something with sheets. Like only one person actually got it. So I was like, you know what? Let me try to fix that. Now, what annoys me about this page is they have a perfect headline to actually communicate what they do, but it's hidden right there. The font, the color of the font is so mashed up with the background, and it's hidden in that text. So I used the tool. I used the method called inspect element. It's inspect element. It's on Chrome and Firefox. I'm gonna show you how to do it in a bit. So I can edit their page locally on my website, not on the live version. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure that this headline is as prominent as possible. So it became something like this. Much better, right? You know exactly what they sell. So I did another 5-second test, and this time 90% of people got it. I went from 10% to 90% just by making the headline more prominent. And it took me 5 minutes to do this, by the way. I saw the result. I was like, okay, this is how fast it is to do a user test on Usability Hub. It takes literally 10 minutes or 5 minutes to get the results. So I was like, I want to change this. So when we talk about experimentation, guys, it's not rocket science. It doesn't have to take forever. You can execute quickly. Now, the thing is with these guys, like I said, it annoys me that they have this motivational BS as an H1. Be prepared for anything. And usually this is very common with the website. In the H1, they say motivational BS. In the H2, they tell you exactly what they do. So one of the biggest tricks in copywriting, just replace H1 with H2, and you will pass a 5-second test. But in their case, their text was way too much. So obviously we need to reduce distractions. I'm gonna show you quickly how I did this, guys, with the inspect element. So let's say this is our growth marketing page. So if I go here, I just select the headline I want to change, right click, inspect. Then the code of this page will open and it's going to be already selected to the headline. So if I go here, you're going to see growth strategies and I can type anything. Let's say growth tribe has and some trainers. Boom. And you can take a new screenshot and you can see if this headline makes more sense. You can change the headline using this, but also you can change images if you want. So let's say if I go here to my LinkedIn profile, I'll copy this image. I can go back to here. Once again, inspect. I select Jeff Bezos. I have his image here. I remove it. I put my image. And now I'm the founder of Amazon. I can take a screenshot, share it with my mom. She'll enjoy that. But yeah, this is like, you don't need to access the code, guys. You can experiment quickly by yourself and get results quickly. And that's why it's super important to pass the 5-second test. Now you may tell me, Tarek, I know for a fact that people, they spend more than 5 seconds to stay on a page. That doesn't make any sense. In that case, you have to remember, guys, we have 3 types of website visitors. You have a small portion of people, they're gonna buy from you no matter what. Even if you have the shittiest website in the world, they're gonna buy from you. And they have their own reasons, because maybe it's a sense of urgency and so on. So that's a small portion. You also have a small portion of people that they're not gonna buy from you no matter what. Even if you have the best website in the world and you won website awards that it's the best, they're not gonna buy. And they also have their own reasons. But in between, we have a big portion of people who are still undecisive. These people, landing page optimization, conversion rate optimization was created for this big portion. Because these people, they spend 5 seconds to stay on a page or consume more content or leave the page. So make sure, guys, when you finish the presentation, see your website and see if it can pass the 5-second test. Then from acquisition, we go to activation. So what kind of experiments can you run to make sure your users, they see the value of your product? So first example is the ads platform. So you have Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Google ads. Usually they give you, if you're a first-time user, they give you like 50 euros free credits. They're not giving you this, guys, because they're generous, because they want to activate you. Because they know you're gonna use these free credits to create your first ad. So you're gonna see how easy it is to create ads and to get traffic. So when these credits expires, now you already got activated, you're gonna pay from your own money. So they use these credits, guys, to push you to make your first ad, because they know their platform are so powerful. Once you create the ads, you're gonna see how easy it is, how easy it is to get traffic, to get conversions. So you're gonna get activated, and after that, well, you're gonna start using your own money. So they're not doing this because they're nice. Also, you can do onboarding. So for B2B, especially for SaaS, people think, yeah, when people sign up for a free trial, that's it, they got activated. let's move on. Now, convincing people to go to the free trial is one thing, and activating them during it is a different thing, because you have to show people how your solution work, because once they know how it works, then they're going to see how the value of that product. If they sign up, that's nothing. You have to show them how. So create onboarding processes. So here we have High Price. High Price, it's a personalization tool for companies who wants to personalize their landing pages for their persona. Once you sign up for a free trial, this is the first thing you see. They have this onboarding process, and they encourage you to take these steps, like install the Chrome extension, add the snippet code, invite a teammate, because they know when you take these action one by one, you're going to see how the platform works, and you're going to get activated because you're going to see the value of their product. So free trial is one thing, and actually show them how it works is a different thing. This is how you activate them. Now, speaking of free trial, you can also improve the form. So this is a company called Akamai, is very well known, and they offer lots of solutions, mostly security. And if you want to sign up for a free trial, look at their form. First name, surname, address, company, title. It's so big, it's so long, they had to take 2 screenshots. You also have country, phone number, business website. It's too damn long. But in comparison, guys, look at the form of Shopify. Once you want to sign up for a free trial, they only ask you for one thing and one thing only, which is your email, because they know they can ask for the rest of the information later on. They want you to get activated as soon as possible. They want to reduce friction. So when we talk about activation rate optimization, for activation, you have to reduce friction to your wow moment. So for Shopify, just we need your email, use our product, because they know once you use the product, you're going to get activated. So you're more willing to give them the rest of the information. There's no need for you guys to take the first name, last name, company, industry, all of that. You can ask it later on when people got activated. This not only applies for SaaS, it could be for different, for booking a demo, booking a meeting. You don't need the whole information. You can get it later on. So make sure you reduce friction as much as possible to make sure people, they get activated as soon as possible. All right. And also we have Thinkific. So Thinkific, it's B2C and B2B. So if you want to create an online course as a company or as an individual, you can use their platform to launch your course. It's like Udemy, but instead of Udemy, it's like your own online platform. Now, their wow moment is when you get your first purchase as an online instructor. So you can only experience this wow moment is when you actually sign up. So what they had to do what we call a wow flip. So they had to encourage you to sign up. So they have this calculator on their website. It's so basic. It literally multiplies 2 numbers. They tell you how much are you willing to basically, how much your course will cost. And they tell you how much you would earn based on the number of students. They're going to see, wow, if I have 10 students, 20 students, I'm going to get $5,000 per month, $6,000 per month. So you get encouraged and motivated to sign up because you want to experience this. So they do what we call a wow flip. They activate you before they acquire you. And now for retention, I have an example because I told you activation is linked to retention and referrals. So it's an example for the 3 of them, which is with To-Do. To-Do, it's a teamwork platform where you can assign projects and tasks to your team and so on. It was founded by one of our co-founders at Growth Tribe, David Arnu. So these guys were having problems understanding what's their wow moment. So they used a tool called Mixpanel. It's an analytics tool that tells you the actions users are taking on your website. So they used Mixpanel and they created 2 segments, non-activated users and activated users. So for this experiment, they saw people who abandoned the platform after they signed up, what they've done. They ignored them because these are the actions that made them leave the platform altogether. Then you had the actions these 2 segments were doing in common. Usually these are the basic steps: create an account, password, invite a teammate. So they also ignored them. What they focused on were the actions activated users were taking, because these are the actions that got them activated in the first place. So whenever you create a To-Do account, you also have this onboarding process where they encourage you to take these steps, because they know when you take these steps, you're going to get activated. So once again, guys, if you have a very sophisticated platform, make sure you have an onboarding process to activate users. And by doing this onboarding, well, they saw 75% uplift in activated users and 112% increase in referrals. Because once again, guys, activation is strongly linked to retention and referrals. Speaking of referrals, And when you want to create a referral program for B2B, don't think about like money incentive, like $50 for you and the one you refer, or $100 or gift cards. For B2B, instead of money incentives, it should be feature incentives, because it's going to have a long-term impact. And in this example, we have Zoho Mail. So it's like it's for companies to create business emails on it. So if you refer if you refer a partner, you get 5 free users, and your partner gets 5 free users. So basically, it's feature incentive because it makes more sense. It's going to have a long-term impact. Another example is with Sean Ellis. Sean Ellis is the godfather of growth marketing. He came up with the name himself, growth hacking. And one of his best stories and experiments was with Dropbox. So he created a referral program. If you refer a friend, you get 100 megabytes free storage, and your friend gets 100 megabytes free storage. So once again, it was feature incentive, not money incentive. So think about what kind of features you can add to your referrals. It could be access to a beta version of something. It could be maybe if you have a different plans, they can get features of a paid plan. So think about it from feature point of view, not money point of view. Then once you start experimenting, guys, obviously it's going to be a bit tough because you have lots of processes and lots of stuff you have to validate. So we came up with our own process to make your life easier. We call it the growth process. It's very easy. It's 5 steps. So step number 1 is G, gathering ideas. So you have to come up with ideas for the experiments you want to run. So you can do this by having brainstorming sessions with your team, or mindstorming session by yourself. Then we have step number 2, which is R, ranking these ideas. Because let's say you have 50 ideas, 60 ideas, it doesn't make any sense to launch them all together at once. You have to prioritize which idea you should implement first. And once you want to prioritize, they should take 2 things into consideration. The idea should be easy to implement. At the same time, they're going to have a big impact on the business. We call that the low-hanging fruits. So, like I said, growth marketing is not the rocket science experiments or the complicated experiments. It's actually the easy ones that are easy to implement, and they're going to have a big impact on the business. And once you find your top idea, this brings us to step number 3, which is outlining the experiment. So based on your top idea, you can now start designing it step by step. What kind of metrics you're going to focus on, which tools you're going to use, testing duration, budget, and all of that. And then we have step number 4, which is W, work. You have to launch the experiment. Now, this is more important than you think, because trust me, guys, I've worked in different companies. We had amazing brainstorming sessions. We hang ideas on the wall. It was for decoration. We didn't do shit. So it's super important to get shit done, because if you don't launch the experiment, how would you ever know it's going to work or not? So make sure you do the work. And then we have step number 5, which is as studying the data. So if an experiment worked, make sure to know why it worked. And if experiment failed, make sure to document why it failed. Because based on these learnings, you're going to optimize future experiments. Which brings us to another step, which is step number 1 again. So you have to go to G, gathering ideas. So you have to keep on experimenting, keep on learning, go through these growth loops, experiment until you basically get your win. Because let's say you went through the first loop, the first growth loop. On step number 5, if it failed, now you have to come up with ideas to improve what failed. So you go to step number 1 again. So you keep on experimenting, keep on learning until you get your win. And at Growth Tribe, and guys, by the way, if you want to learn more about the growth process, you can go to this link, growth.ac/growth. I think the slides will be shared with you guys after the presentation, so you can check it out. This is a YouTube video where we talk about it in depth. Now at Growth Tribe, we truly believe that the more experiments you run, the more learnings you're gonna get. And as I mentioned, guys, some of your experiments, they're gonna fail at first. And that's okay, because you're gonna learn from them. So if you don't give up and you keep on pushing, eventually you're gonna reach this holy grail. This is where everything comes together, all of the learnings, all of the optimization, and you get your big win. Now, many people tell me that, yeah, growth marketing is only for B2C or startups. No, it's not. It's for everybody. And at Growth Tribe, we've been training companies for the past 5 years, different companies, non-regulated, highly regulated, small scale, large scale, B2C, B2B, startups, large organization, you name it. And the cool thing about this slide, guys, it shows you the impact of growth marketing, the importance of growth marketing. Because if you have the right mindset and you know how to apply the frameworks and the processes, you can basically apply it anywhere, in any company, in any industry. So I would like to end this presentation by reminding you of this quote: being wrong might hurt you a bit. It's okay to fail. You're going to learn from it. But being slow will kill you. And when you want to experiment, be sure to be as creative as Mr. Kobayashi. And guys, if you, like I said, qualitative feedback is important. So if you enjoyed this quick presentation, you can go to this link or this QR code and you can give us some quick feedback. It takes 40 seconds. And yeah, I think now we can answer some questions.
All right, we're all going to eat hot dogs this afternoon, right? Thank you, Tarek. Thank you so much. We have a question coming in from Carlo. I give everybody some time to ask your questions in the chat pane. If you didn't see the chat pane during the presentation, please open it and ask your questions there. We shared a lot of links already there to some examples Tarek mentioned in his presentation. And there is a question of Carlo. He's asking, do you have an example of a website that has all tactics on board? Which raises a question with me as well. Do you need all tactics, or do you make a decision in tactics? Is it logical to have all tactics, for example?
Yeah, so it depends on the experiment. So basically, I talked about prioritization. So you can use all tactics, but you have to prioritize which one you should try first. Because we talked about the part funnel. So you have to map up the funnel, and then you can see which stage is leaking. Maybe for awareness, you're doing well. Acquisition, it's not struggling. Maybe at activation, you have lots of leak in there. So you have to come to use the tactics to fix that leak. So you have to prioritize which stage of the funnel you want to fix and do it accordingly. And obviously you should do it one change at a time or one tactic at a time, because let's say an experiment worked and you did like 5 things at the same time. You have no idea what made it work. So that make sure it's one tactic at a time, but prioritize which one you have, which stage you have to focus on first. So
Yeah.
no, you don't have a website with all tactics. If you have a website with all tactics, it means it was implemented step by step, not all together at once.
Yeah. And in order to discover what's working, what's not, you have to add things one at a time, right?
Exactly.
Otherwise, you don't
So
see the
yeah.
difference.
So for each experiment, you have a testing duration. When the testing duration ends, you look at the
Yeah.
experiment and you analyze the data, soft and hard. You see what worked, what didn't work, and you optimize accordingly.
Yeah. Cool. I give people more time to ask questions if they want. In the meantime, I have a question regarding the growth model. What do you advise on a structure of meetings doing the growth steps? Like do you do that once a week, or what's the ideal situation on keeping progress with meetings there?
Yeah. So for the growth process, you use it during a sprint. So in Growth Tribe, we have a 2-week sprint. So you use it for 2 weeks. And it also depends on how big your growth team is. So let's say if you have a team, usually if you have one growth team, maybe you have one person for each stage. So let's say Tarek, you handle awareness, Thais, you handle activation, someone else would handle retention. So each team member is responsible for a stage. And then for each sprint, each one runs one experiment or two, depending on how easy the experiment is. But if you have a small team, obviously you cannot run different experiments at the same time. But usually we usually doing a 2-week sprints, but it depends on how big your team is. If you have a team for each stage of the funnel, that's nice. But if you're a one-man show, you have to prioritize which stage you want to focus on first, and that would be your stage throughout the sprint. So it's related to how big the growth team is.
Yeah, can imagine. Can you share one of the biggest tactics you tested that you think like, okay, this or with a client, or like this should be the holy grail and it was failed miserably? Like do you have an example of something that went really, really wrong?
I can't think because for me, I'm the trainer for public courses, and we have trainers for corporate courses.
Yeah.
But I can probably get you some insights from them. But for me, I can't think of anything at the moment.
Okay.
When we talk about the wins, if you tell me like what was your biggest experiment that won, usually it's like making the call to action above the fold, like the small stuff that have big impact on the business.
Yeah. That's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Sana has a question in the meantime. We are in a niche and do not have a lot of data to work with. How would you approach experimenting then? So not based on data.
Well, there's lots of tools to get data, even if you don't have customers. So you have tools to formulate the persona. We use Crystal Knows, Facebook Audience Insights. So even if you don't have any data to start with, there are tools online that can get you started. And it depends on your niche. Like I would love to learn more about it, but yeah, you have to find a way to make it data driven. But if you're starting from scratch, then yeah, you can use these tools.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be very accurate, but it's something to start with. Gonna help you start experimenting first, and then when you run your first 2-3 experiments, you're gonna get that data that you're looking for.
Yeah, you're mentioning a lot of tools. What can be an ideal tool stack or technology stack for a well operating growth team?
I really,
Like, let's start with a number. Like, do you have like 10 or 30 tool sets?
I really hate to keep mentioning this, but it really depends on the team and the experiment. Because obviously, if your team, I'm just focusing on awareness, I don't need lots of tools. Like I need maybe tools for personas because I'm focusing on awareness and targeting. So it really depends. But for me, mostly like analytics tools. That's the most important thing. Like Google Analytics, Mixpanel, Amplitude. This is what gonna get you started. I think these are the most important ones you should focus on. If you don't have it, like Hotjar, watching screen recordings. So that data that comes from your website, all the tools that you use in your website, this is the best tool to understand
Yeah,
what's happening, soft and hard.
yeah. First, get insights, of course.
Mhm.
Question from Johnny. How did you do the research concerning personas? Did you sit down with your team, external interviews? What are best practices there?
Yeah.
You
So
mentioned Crystal knows already.
yeah. So for personas, when you want to create a persona for B2C, it's quite different from B2B. So for B2C, it's easier, right? And it's basically especially if you're an e-commerce business, because everything on their persona you have it online. So basically, you can check Google Analytics. You can check the demographic of people who purchased on your website, so you know the demographics. And also, you can share surveys with your customers, like what convinced you, how did you hear about us, what convinced you to buy our product, and based on the answers you get, you know exactly from which channel they came from, and you know exactly which features made them sign up. So you basically optimize your content accordingly. And for B2B, I mentioned this in the presentation, you have lots of stakeholders, and here sales communication with sales for the B2B persona is important. It's going to tell you which positions are being present in these offline demos, these big meetings, which industries are converting better for you. Then it's going to help to narrow down your persona. And I mentioned crystal nose, yeah, because one element in personas is personality type. Like, how do they think, their behavior? So we use a tool called Crystal Nose. It works on LinkedIn, and it's gonna tell you based on the LinkedIn profile their behavior. It's gonna tell you the personality type of that person. So if you have, let's say, you have a big list of customers, you can go to their LinkedIn profile one by one, and until you find, you might find some common personality traits. It's gonna help you formulate the personality type. So
Yep.
it's a very big answer. Like it's a topic in our course, like 1 hour. So it's tough for me to answer it like 1 minute. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. And Crystal knows is quite accurate. It's a bit scary sometimes.
Yeah.
It's quite impressive. All right. There are no more questions coming in. So give everybody a couple seconds. Please make sure you help Tarek as well, guys, to fill in the feedback form. That's highly appreciated.
And of course, like, you can add me on LinkedIn. I think I'm gonna share my LinkedIn profile. So if you
Yeah.
have questions after the presentation, please let me know on LinkedIn and I can help you out.
Let's do that. That sounds great. Okay. I assume everybody checked the URL here for some feedback. Um, I really enjoyed this, Tarek. Thank you so much. Your LinkedIn is here as well. We
Yeah,
will share the slides with everybody. We share the recording. Thank you for joining us this morning.
thanks for
And I
having
would like,
me.
yeah, thank you so much. Talk soon.
Bye. Bye,
Bye
guys.
bye.